Okay.
Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining ORT for this webinar this afternoon. For those of you who are new to ORT, we are an organization that supports entrepreneurs in the Jewish community through mentorship, networking, and training. If you would like to know more, please contact Brenna or me. Today we have the privilege of hearing from Sharon Miller. Sharon is a marketing specialist and social change maker. She is a longtime friend of ORT, a committed mentor, a facilitator for training workshops, and actively involved in our business network. We thank you, Sharon, for your ongoing support. It is relationships like these that have enabled ORT to grow and become the organization it is today. Please feel free to post comments and questions in the chat box, and remember to keep your microphones on mute. Sharon, thank you for giving of your time and sharing your knowledge and expertise with us. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Lisa, and welcome everybody to my kitchen and a very hot and muggy day in Toronto. A special hello to all my friends on the call. I miss you all, and I can't wait to come back to Cape Town. Today, I'm going to take you on a journey so you can see what it looks like to be strategic on LinkedIn. As Lisa mentioned, I'm a marketing consultant, and I have been a LinkedIn user for many years. I'm also one of Lisa's LinkedIn buddies, which I'll tell you a little bit about later. While I'm talking, please send through your questions and I will address them at the end. Lisa, are you recording? Okay. I titled my talk, Is LinkedIn the New Facebook? Because recently LinkedIn is starting to look a lot like Facebook, with more personal posts than usual. But it doesn't really matter how others use it, because you get to choose how you would like to showcase your company and your own personal brand on LinkedIn. Here are 3 things I would like you to consider while I'm walking you through the strategy, and I will touch on these throughout my presentation. Number 1, think about how you can add value to your network and talk about how you can help them instead of just trying to sell to them. Number 2, make sure that what you are saying aligns with your brand. I like to talk about current events, and right now, Black Lives Matter has gained my attention, but I talk about it from a marketing perspective, and I will show you how a bit later. Number 3, this is not the place to be brutally honest and vulnerable. In fact, no social platform is. Rather, show your network an airbrushed version of yourself and use standard business etiquette for when making connections. Think about it as going to work and putting on your best business persona. As a general rule, for any social platform, only post content that you will be proud to see on the front page of the Sunday Times, because whatever you post will be there forever, even if you delete your copy. To give you some ideas on how you can use this platform, I'm going to tell you how I use it. There is no one way to use a social platform. You start by defining your objectives and then you work towards them. My objective is for me to be seen as a thought leader among my peers and potential clients. So everything I do is tailored to my specific audience. Because my audience is quite small, I go after CEOs of a certain size company. I'm not interested in creating viral posts or getting 10,000 likes. For starters, it's way too much work, and I don't actually have 10,000 potential customers. I only want to talk to the people that matter to me. I've decided that my brand doesn't do any direct selling on LinkedIn. I prefer to share helpful information and thought leadership, which means I'm going to share my marketing opinion about current events. I hope you noticed I said my marketing opinion and not my personal opinion. These are my objectives. Now take a moment to think about yours. To help you, think about LinkedIn as an extension of your business strategy and use it to meet new people, share and receive industry knowledge, connect with new clients, or even look for a new job. The path to meeting your objective is not a straight one. You have to kiss a lot of frogs before you meet your prince or princess. But all the frogs on the way become valuable connections. Talk to as many people as you can, and one of them will lead you to your ultimate goal. You just don't know which one. All that being said, LinkedIn makes it easier for you to meet your prince because it tells you which of your connections already has a relationship with the prince. For example, if I wanted to meet somebody that Lisa already knew, it's very easy for me to contact Lisa and say, do you know so-and-so, and can you please make an introduction for me? And remember, you need to talk to people like they are real people. This is an example of someone who did just the opposite. I received this LinkedIn request from a stranger. She said to me, we have people in common and I want to grow my network. Funny thing is, we only have one person in common and I have no interest in helping her grow her network, which in fact is code for, as soon as you accept me, I'm going to start selling to you. This is not how you use LinkedIn effectively. Remember when I said about adding value? She's taking the lazy approach to networking, where she writes one generic email that is all about her and she blasts it off to the whole world. If she had taken the time to do her research and review my profile, something like this would have gotten my attention. Sharon, as a marketing consultant, I'm wondering if you ever have the need to outsource copywriting. Many of my clients are technology companies, so I understand your industry very well. Because you don't know me and we only have one person in common, I would like to offer you a get to know me test. I will write one page of copy for you at no charge to give you an idea of my capabilities. And then if you ever have a need for copywriting, you might consider using me for your next project. This is how you approach a stranger. And the try before you buy approach, just like sampling in a grocery store, is very powerful. And in this case, costs her very little to make a meaningful connection. Funny thing is, I actually do need a copywriter, but she gets a big fat delete from me. Not because she sent a generic email, but because her writing tells me she doesn't understand how to talk to customers. And this is a skill I look for in a copywriter. Keep in mind that your writing says so much more about you than intended. This person had no idea that I would judge her copywriting skills based on her email. But think about it for a moment. It makes perfect sense because you wouldn't hire a communications person or even a salesperson if they didn't know how to write effectively. Here is another way she could have approached me. I noticed you've been sharing a lot of branding content recently, and I agree that the year 2020 is not about washing our hands, but it's going to be remembered as the year marketing changed everything. As a technology copywriter, I'm seeing the changes before my eyes. It would be fun to connect and discuss how marketing is changing the world. Can you see how this message is talking to me, the person, about a topic that interests me? In fact, all she did was repeat one of my posts back to me, but it worked. I would definitely reach out to her now. I hope you can see why her original approach just didn't work for me. But if she was really using networking and LinkedIn effectively, she should have taken the time to comment on some of my posts first. This is how it could work. She makes an interesting comment and I would respond. She does this a few times and all of a sudden we're building a relationship. And by the time she sends me a message to connect, I already know who she is. So she's not selling to me anymore. This could work in her favor even if I don't respond to her comments because I would see her name and recognize it. Think about it this way. How many of you walk up to a complete stranger and say, "Do you want to be my friend?" Of course you don't. You start off slow. First, you talk about something you have in common, maybe your LinkedIn mutual connections, and then you slowly move into the friend zone. It takes time, but it's worth the effort. Every time you're about to hit the send button on something you have written, ask yourself this question. Is this written about me or is it written about my customer? If it's written about you, I'm sorry to say, but you have to delete it and start again. And please understand, the hardest thing you can do is write from your customer's point of view. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. What's more, you can't actually do this if you don't know how you help your customer. Let's talk more about how you should be using LinkedIn. But first, let me tell you why you should be using it. LinkedIn has 675 million users every month. And the good news is you already know some of them. If you're selling to businesses, you have just found your perfect business directory. If you're selling to consumers, you can still use LinkedIn because we're all in the people business, and people, even business people, buy consumer products. It's all about how you frame it. In South Africa, there are more than 7 million users on LinkedIn, which means many of your colleagues are already there. Start talking to them today by connecting with everyone you have ever worked with and everybody you know. Add your friends and your family too. The goal is to create mutual connections. But don't just randomly connect with strangers. Connect with people that are part of your clearly defined audience. It's like the Google effect. The more data you put in, the more valuable it will become. LinkedIn is also a great place to connect with the untouchables like Bill Gates, Simon Sinek, even Jacinda Ardern. These industry leaders give us an inside track into what's going on in the world. And I know for sure that the next time Bill Gates predicts a pandemic, I will definitely listen a little closer. I also follow companies that have great marketing, so I can learn from them. My favorite companies to follow right now are the big four: Amazon, Apple, Facebook, and Netflix. You get to choose who you would like to follow and how they will enrich your business. LinkedIn is not only my education tool, but it's also my business newsfeed. It tells me what is going on in my industry, but more importantly, it shares personal information about my connections, like who has moved companies, who has won an award, and who needs my help. The combination of all this information helps me stay current and keeps me relevant. If you can be only one thing in today's world, I suggest you choose relevance. In my circle, I rarely engage with anyone that has less than 500 connections because it means that the number of mutual connections will be too low. I never take a meeting with a new person until I've researched them first. I get a snapshot of their career, our mutual connections, and more importantly, I get a heads up on any mutual frenemies that I need to be aware of. This eliminates the mandatory small talk about the weather, and we go straight to discussing mutual connections. It's a great icebreaker. You also want to follow people that are using LinkedIn well so that they can inspire you. Lisa Sandler is a great example. She's a newbie LinkedIn user. I think she's been on for a few years, but she's only started harnessing the true power of LinkedIn in the last year or so. When I asked her why, she told me that LinkedIn is a scary place. She didn't really understand what to post and was scared to post the wrong thing. This is why I suggest the buddy system. Work with a buddy, bounce ideas off each other, and share ideas before you make them public. I usually write my messages and then wait at least 24 hours before posting. I take my time and really think about how my message will be perceived. I'm one of Lisa's LinkedIn buddies. When she has a question, she reaches out to me and we discuss it first. When I need help, I reach out to one of my marketing friends and they help me, and in turn, they reach out to me. It's not very different in real life. When I was preparing this presentation, I needed a bit of inspiration. So thanks, Melissa Fagan. I know you're on the call, and thanks for reminding me about all the ideas I've shared with you over the years. We can all solve the world's problems. We just can't solve our own. One of the questions I get a lot is how to engage with politics. My advice to you is stay clear if you're just sharing your personal opinion. But if you can find an angle that works for your industry, then it can be very powerful and relevant. Black Lives Matter in North America is big news and something that I would like to be a part of. But I let the articles do the talking for me, and my comments are more generic. Okay, I admit it, for Canadian standards, I do push the envelope. But believe me, I take my time to think it through, and I don't recklessly post the first thing that pops into my head. Because trust me, the first thing that pops into my head is not LinkedIn worthy. Remember, Everything I'm writing is to get to the attention of my perfect audience. And if what I'm saying doesn't tell them I'm a marketing thought leader, then it's time for me to move on. This is a great example of a political post. This article was a plea from major investors to Nike, FedEx, and Pepsi to stop sponsoring racist brands. As a marketer, branding is very relevant. So my comment, your move, Nike, FedEx, and Pepsi, it's time to check your brand promise, tells the reader that I understand brands and I want to hold the big brands accountable for their part in racism. Do I work for big brands? No, I don't. Is this relevant to my audience? Absolutely, because I'm talking about marketing and I'm making it relevant. Am I vomiting my personal opinion on the page? No, I'm not. It's not my opinion I want to get across, but my marketing expertise. There is a difference. And by the way, this is my favorite emoji, and I decided that I needed to find a place to use it. When the big companies actually responded, I was there to share the information with a simple response received message. Again, I'm not sharing my personal opinion. I spoke about this post a little earlier. What it tells my audience is that I understand marketing and I understand that changes are coming. This is a very powerful statement to share with my audience. Anyone can write good content as long as you take the time to really think about it. Start by asking yourself, what information does my customer want to learn about me? And then write that. Which leads me to my list of no's. Going along and liking posts and leaving one-word comments is not adding value. If you're going to take the time to read a post and leave a comment, take a few extra minutes to say something that adds value and showcases your talents. Just going through like is actually quite annoying to your network and the people that follow you. If you want to congratulate someone, if you think they've done a great job, by all means do it. But maybe take some extra time and add a little anecdote just to make it a little bit more interesting and meaningful. This comment was the perfect opportunity for me to showcase how I like to work with other people, even when they can be a little annoying. I wrote, I prefer to manage expectations and respond with a polite no thank you. This tells my network that I respond to reasonable people and I'm polite. It's not a bad message to share with my audience. Here's a post I added to LinkedIn, which is more Facebook worthy, but I gave it a business slant by saying, if I can do this, imagine what I can do for your business. It's a bit self-serving and not really something I would usually post, but it worked. It's all about balance. For me, one self-serving post in 50 is probably a good ratio for me. If you know me, you know I'm constantly reminding the people I coach to stock up on blog posts. This was a fun way to share the message while everyone was going crazy buying up the world's supply of toilet paper. Before I take questions, I just want to stress that your profile and more importantly, your pic matter. In fact, most people would rather do anything else than update their LinkedIn pic. Here are your basic picture guidelines. It has to look like you, unless we're in a pandemic, because my picture definitely doesn't look like me. So it shouldn't be more than a few years old. Use a plain background, ideally white. Smile with teeth. Showing teeth is how we look approachable. And of course, dress business casual. This is not the time to use your wedding pic or that cool one of you sitting on the beach. If you need help with your picture and you're in Cape Town, contact Yolanda from Kretz McKee's Photography. She knows how to make you look good in pictures, and she knows what a LinkedIn profile pic should look like. And when you're setting up your profile, make it easy for people to reach out to you by adding your current email address and or your contact number. Here is Yolanda's in case you need to find her. Yolanda, I hope this is your current email address, because if it isn't, you need to run into LinkedIn and update it. Okay, so I'm going to, while you guys are sending in your questions, I'm going to answer some questions that I've already received ahead of time.
Sharon, I've got a few questions here. I don't know if you
Okay, let me go through these quickly and then we'll get how many, and then we'll get to those because these are.
Okay, you start off. Okay.
Okay, super. So the first one is, should I set up a company page? The only reason I use a company page is so that my profile looks nice and professional with the logos going down the left-hand side. But I'm a freelancer, so I don't really need a company page. And having one gives me double the amount of work because I now have 2 pages. I would have it as a guess that most of you don't need a company page. But remember what I said earlier, you need to decide how you make LinkedIn work for you. To help you look at some pages that are already up there of companies and decide if a company page is right for you. And by the way, a company page is free and doesn't cost anything. Do I post personal and non-work achievements? So the thing is, you can post personal achievements if you can make them relevant to your job. This question comes from Theo, who I know is an avid cyclist and often leads large groups of people up Chapman's Peak. By doing this, it tells me he definitely has leadership skills, and I know he has the attitude of not leaving any man behind. There is definitely a business post in there somewhere. He just has to find it. How do hashtags work? Thanks, Mel Cook, for this question. I'm not an expert on hashtags, but this is what I do know. The first 3 hashtags you use in a post get aggregated on LinkedIn. If people are searching by hashtag, your post will come up, but it might be post number 2,064,000. I use a personal hashtag to make it easy for people to find all my business mentoring content, my blogs, my videos, etc. It's much easier for me to tell you to search my hashtag than to give you my Facebook, my LinkedIn, my YouTube, etc. This is for job seekers. Do I actively advise I'm job seeking, and how do I search for my dream job? There is an option on LinkedIn that lets recruiters know that you're open to hearing from them, which is a more private approach. There is no harm to letting your network know you're looking for a job, but I think you can do it in a way that is less, please hire me, and more, how can I add value to your process, which becomes more of a conversation starter. The other question, how do I proactively search for my dream job? If you're looking for work, your best chance is finding the opening before it gets posted publicly, because as soon as it's posted, the competition increases exponentially. So network, network, network. I'm sad to say there is no magic bullet to finding a job except hours and hours of networking and approaching people, adding value and telling them how you can help them. I know it's hard, but it's much harder if you don't do it. Which groups should I follow? What I know for sure is that following any group is just polluting your newsfeed unless you participate, add value, network with group members, and make connections. All that being said, I've never actually found any value in LinkedIn groups, but I haven't been on one in many years. If there is a group that speaks to your industry, there's no harm in you checking it out to see if it's something that can add value to you. How to target the right customers. There's no one clear answer, but your approach should be everything I've already spoken about. First, understand who your perfect customer is, treat each person as an individual, and start making new connections one at a time to add value. What should I do if a stranger wants to connect with me? If strangers ask to connect, don't just connect. Do your research first. Decide if they can help you or you can help them. If you decide to connect, send them a note saying thanks for connecting and start building a relationship. Don't just connect with someone and never talk to them again. If you choose not to connect, give them a big fat delete. No business etiquette required. Okay, that's all I have. Brenna, do you have any for me?
I do. There's actually is one question here from Jason Sandler saying, how often should you post? When posting, what is better, an article or a post?
Okay, so there's no correct answer. You have to think about the content you're posting and how much value it offers. And that's how you decide. If you have really valuable content, sure, you can post it every day if you want. But you have to make sure it's valuable. What's better, an article, or what was the question?
An article or a post?
And well, it depends. If there's an article that adds a lot of value and you actually have a great opinion about it, whatever your industry is, if you share an opinion about an article, if you have a post that adds value and is interesting, that's fine too. There's no right or wrong with that one.
Okay, so I've got another question here. What other platforms should I use for my business?
Well, it depends if you're selling to businesses or you're selling to consumers. So if you're selling to businesses, for sure you want to use LinkedIn, and you definitely want to use Instagram as well. If you're selling to consumers, you definitely want to use Facebook, definitely Instagram, LinkedIn too, and of course TikTok. The problem with TikTok right now is that it's very controversial, all to do with the Chinese government and stealing our data, but they've actually started hiring. They now have an American CEO, an American marketing person. So I don't really know if we should be using that platform or not, but it is a great consumer platform. But just understanding that when you use any of these platforms, and in fact, even when you use your smartphone, your privacy goes out the window. That's why I don't really understand why there's such an uproar about TikTok, because we give away our privacy every day by using all these platforms.
Thanks, Sharon. Also, another one here. How do I get my post to go viral and get thousands of likes and comments?
So you first have to ask yourself the question, do I really need my post to go viral? And if you want a viral post, I don't think LinkedIn is really the place. I think if you want a viral post, you are going after consumers, which means that you want to be on Facebook or TikTok or Instagram. Posts going viral are a lot of work. For LinkedIn, there's all these articles about how to make your post viral, but you have to understand that as soon as people figure it out, the powers that be change the algorithm. So if you want your post to go viral, you need to do a lot of research and find out what the algorithm is doing today.
Another one here. I would like to use TikTok instead of LinkedIn. What do you think?
Well, if you're selling to businesses, then you shouldn't be using TikTok. So if you're selling to consumers, for sure use TikTok. And I mean, if you're selling to businesses, you probably could use TikTok too, but it's all about the strategy and all about your business. I've seen a lot of good business posts on TikTok, but they are slanted towards a more consumer audience. So I can't really answer that without really knowing what your product is.
And is it not, is TikTok not as well for a much younger audience?
You'll be surprised. If you go on TikTok, you'll see that even the grannies are using it. So using it. Everybody seems to be using it at the moment. Okay. Because it's, you know what, it's a fun, mindless tool. And, you know, we're all stuck at home in a pandemic and people are just going on TikTok.
Everything you've said sounds like a lot of hard work. I thought I could just blast information out to everybody, but...
Well, yes, you can. If you want to be the person that sent me the message telling me that we've got lots of mutual connections and she wants to grow her network, then you can just blast it out. But are you going to get quality responses? Probably not. You know, social platforms and LinkedIn are not a magic bullet. Everything takes a lot of hard work and it starts with your business strategy.
Okay, so Sharon, here's another one. Why should I use LinkedIn if my colleagues aren't using it?
So the thing about that is that if you use it, your colleagues will use it. So it's like if you build it, they will come. If your colleagues aren't using it, they should be using it. And what it does for you is it makes you the early adopter or the leader in your industry. So you definitely want to be using it. I'm pretty sure when Melissa Fagan started using LinkedIn, a lot of her people weren't there. But she became the leader in her industry and she started connecting with global people that were there. So it's definitely valuable.
Okay, and what does LinkedIn do with all my information I post?
They steal it, they use it, and they advertise to you.
I only see one more question, again from Jason. Do I need to keep my business page active? I created one specifically for the logo on my profile. On the business page, it has basic info and then directs you to my personal page.
So Jason, I've done exactly the same thing, because if you saw my slide earlier, you'll see that I also only create business pages for my logo. No, I don't think you need to keep it active. I don't. Nobody goes there. I have no followers. And the purpose is just so that I have a very nice, pretty logo on my personal profile.
Okay, I don't see, oh, hold on. Here's a few more questions. For a business page, how do I grow the following organically and for free?
Well, it's everything I've already said. It's about sharing valuable content and growing your network. What I usually do on business pages is that I post the information on the business page, and then from my personal page, I will then go and share my business page information. But it takes a long time. It's all about sharing valuable content that people are interested in. And the bigger your network, the more people will go to your business page.
Would you recommend LinkedIn for a non-profit organization?
Definitely.
Wait, let me help Bren there. The question is, would you recommend LinkedIn for a non-profit organization?
Absolutely, absolutely. LinkedIn is a very good tool to connect with potential customers or potential donors or partners or suppliers or colleagues. Again, getting industry information. Everybody is there. Every non-profit person is there. Gates, I can't think of any others. All the philanthropists, everybody's on LinkedIn today.
And then Sharon, someone's asking about Twitter. What about Twitter?
You know what? Of course, you want to use Twitter too. It's not my favorite. I never use it, but yeah, it's absolutely part of the social network and worth using. It just depends on how much time you've got, and how much time do you want to devote to social. I would choose one platform and use it well, as opposed to having 5 platforms and using them all sort of so-so. Because as you've heard, it's a lot of work. And your strategy for Twitter is different to your strategy for LinkedIn. And your strategy for LinkedIn is different to your strategy for Facebook. So for example, with all my business mentoring content, for me, that just goes straight to Facebook. And I don't put any of that stuff on my LinkedIn. So it's a lot of extra work. The more channels you have, the more work you've got to do.
There's a question here. I need to understand the basic practicalities of how to change the pic or logo in my LinkedIn account.
Okay, that's something you just need to Google. Just Google exactly what you said, and you'll get 10 different answers showing you how to do it 10 different ways.
Would you suggest that a small community NPO with a niche Cape Town audience creates a public or private account?
Definitely public. The private accounts is if you want to, but this isn't on LinkedIn. This must be on Facebook they're talking about.
I don't know, on LinkedIn.
I don't think there's such a thing as a private account on LinkedIn. And I don't know why you would, the only time you create a private account is if you only want to talk to a small group of people or a large group of people, but you want to keep the information private. If you're using a social network, I don't know why you would want it private.
Sharon, I think that brings us to the end of our questions. If anyone has got more questions, please put them in the chat box. But yeah, we just wanted to really thank you so much. I mean, one of the best things about COVID for us is that we are able to host someone like yourself, despite the fact that you're not in Cape Town, but that we can still share this time with you and learn from you, and thank you for the very practical and useful tips that we all need right now to just increase our reach.
My pleasure. I hoped it helped, and I look forward to seeing you all on LinkedIn. Feel free to connect with me, and I will certainly accept your connections.
So yeah, you guys can see Sharon's email address at the bottom there, and thank you for being so accessible and open for everybody to contact you. That will be fantastic. Thanks, Sharon.
My pleasure. Nice to see everybody. Bye.
Take care. Bye.